Barakatah Howl, Barakatah Shah, Barakatah Howl, Barakatah Shah, Barakatah Howl, Barakatah Shah, by Hashem Kadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Much respect to the brothers laboring in this truth worldwide to wake up the elect of the children of Israel. Yeah, man, it's a beautiful morning. Got a couple of videos queued up that we're going to filter through the scriptures. And every day you wake up in this truth, man, is a day to give praise to Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai, right? Because each day past, the Most High is working a beautiful work on this wicked kingdom, man. And it's a beautiful thing, man, if you're in the right spirit, man, because you don't want to keep living in this captivity. You don't want to keep having to deal with waking up and going to work knowing that you are gods on this earth, man, right? So not sure what I'm gonna title this lesson, but let's get into it.
Two BRIC countries may be taking a step closer to dropping the dollar. Now, after a meeting at the Eastern Economic Forum, Russian President Vladimir Putin and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi says that they want to use national currencies for bilateral trade. Now, last year, trade between Russia and India was up by 17%. And according to the two leaders, could triple by 2025. So to break this all down and what this means for the United States and the dollar, we turn to Boom Best co-host Christy I. Thank you so much for joining us, Christy, on this issue. Okay, so why is trade growing at such an accelerated speed between Russia and India? What do the two countries have to offer each other?
Well, right now, Prime Minister Modi's center of focus is energy and commodities. He's trying to take advantage of the very low global oil prices that we're seeing and also trying to diversify into the natural gas and liquefied natural gas industry, which is what Russia is known for. So at the Eastern Economic Forum, those two have made very crucial deals in regards to defense, shipping, and most importantly, commodities at the center of it.
Well, and what does India have to offer? We know what Russia has to offer India. India they want to diversify, but what can they offer to Russia as kind of a part of this partnership?
They have structured multiple deals in exploring the Arctic region and opening up the Northern Sea Route, which has become increasingly crucial in terms of the commodities trade. The Eastern Sea Route is going to definitely strengthen their position and is also going to be quickly becoming the next Suez Canal and becoming like the crucial commodities transports for doing shipments in that region. That they are estimated to ship over 18 million tons of commodities within the next upcoming year.
Well, and with so much controversy about the pipelines going through Germany and going through Europe, this makes it look like this is an easy deal to get around that. And so it begs to question, though, is India the only one that Russia has to worry about in negotiating that sort of travel space?
Obviously, there is a lot of interest in this, and right now Russia has a head start. In fact, President Putin said that this is a first priority for Russia and is incentivizing many companies to try to open up this route with very significant tax breaks going into next year.
Well, it's going to be interesting with the oil. Now, let's get back to the dollar here. When it says national currency, what is it referring to? Whose national currency?
It is going to be both. So this is going to be referring to the rupee-ruble trade. And this is something that they have been actually working on since last year when there was a multi-billion-dollar defense deal on the line and Russia was under U.S. sanctions. So because of this, they thought that it would be wise of them to implement this rupee-ruble trade starting from last year. And that has significantly strengthened. And now in Russia, you see the reserve currency basket. 42% of the reserve currency is now denominated in euros at the expense of the dollar. The dollar has fallen to about only a third. And the most significant upcomer is the rupee, as a lot of the trade with...
See that, man? So these countries, man, are now dropping the U.S. dollar, which will in turn create a recession, which in turn will bring on the mark of the beast, right? This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 19 and verse 14. The Most High have mingled a perverse spirit in the midst thereof, and they have caused Egypt to err in every work thereof. As a drunken man staggereth in his vomit, neither shall there be any work for Egypt, which the head or tail, branch or rush may do, right? There's not going to be any work here pretty soon, man, once this dollar get dropped and this economy crash, right? Man, let me get this. Because it's coming, man. Because thus saith the Most High, right? This is Ecclesiastes 12:2. While the sun or the light or the moon or stars be not darkened, nor the clouds return after the rain. Matter of fact, let me read up. Because that cloud, moon, and stars are talking about understanding and the understanding of this world, right? So this is Ecclesiastes 12:1. Remember now remember now thy creator in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not, nor the years grow nigh, when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them. Okay? Remember Yahweh Shai right now. Seek him 10 times harder right now. It says, while the sun or the light or the moon or the stars be not darkened. So why it says sun or the light? Because it's dealing with wisdom, knowledge, understanding, man. Right? Nor the clouds return after the rain. In the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the granders cease, because they are few, and those that look out of the windows be darkened, right? And the doors shall be shut up, and the doors shall be shut in the streets, when the sound of the grinding is low, and he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low, right? So this time is coming, man, very soon.
India is now denominated in the rupee.
Well, that's very interesting. Okay, so what would this mean for the dollar? You said there's obviously a large reserve currency in Russia, but other countries. What would this mean if it became actually a full-blown trade? And for the dollar as well as other currencies in the world that might be doing business with Russia, is this going to be what they're all going to do now?
Well, right now the dollar is still the most significant reserve currency in the world. It is the most valuable, and because of this, it has some very special privileges that other currencies aren't privy to. It has liquidity, and it has the access to capital, two things that are very, very crucial, and these are very real privileges, because we see in Argentina, they're suffering from a short-term liquidity crisis because they can no longer access the financial markets because they are at the expense of the dollar. The peso has weakened significantly against the dollar. So because of this, the dollar has a very good position. But up until recently, people are now concerned that because of this and Trump's position and policies, he has kind of weaponized the dollar. And so countries are now afraid, and they're thinking, what kind of autonomy do we have as a country if we are held at the whims of a President Trump and the dollar if he chooses to weaponize it? Would we be at a trade disadvantage? So because of this and many of Trump's policies, many countries are now choosing to move away from the dollar because they see vulnerabilities in being too overly dependent on it.
So from a global economic standpoint, is it better to have diversity where every country has its own form of currency that they're trading in, or does it make more sense that we have one united front of one united currency?
Obviously, having one united currency does make trading and liquidity and access to capital easier. People do have that biasism. However, at this point in time, people we were in a unilateralism community probably about a decade ago, but now under the current policies, we have shifted to more protectionist policies. And unlike previous decades, the new sanctions that have been enforced are not in agreement with each other. Before, they had the support of allies. The allies supported every single sanction that was implemented. They supported all of the policies that were implemented. But because now we're going into almost a protectionist cycle, and every single country is now worried about their own currency, the state of their own economies, and it's more so going away from this multilateralism community that we've grown so accustomed to in decades.
It's almost like America first has now become my own country here first, my own country first. That could be a positive and a negative. Christy, thank you so much for going in detail with us.
Thank you.
Hey, YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoy.
The world's richest families are...
So this next video, man, is from Bloomberg, and is the world's richest families are stockpiling cash as recession fears grows, right? Let's check it out.
Stockpiling cash. A new report from UBS and Camden Research surveyed 360 global single and multifamily offices. Results showed about 42% are raising cash reserves. Here with us to explain, Bloomberg's Tom Metcalf, who joins from London. So, Tom, they're stockpiling cash. Just how much and just how prevalent is this sort of fear?
Yeah, there's a real sense of doom and gloom, to be honest, coming out of this admittedly typically conservative sector. So alongside this report, we spoke to a few family office managers, and they were really saying, from their point of view, that there's not much uptick really on any asset class. They think equities will fall and then stay flat. They think there'll be no real returns on bonds, and then alternative investments is going to be really tricky to invest. So as you say, they're now sort of really moving into cash.
Listen, man, we just heard where these countries are now moving away from the dollar. So it doesn't matter how much cash they stockpile, it's not going to be worth a damn thing.
They're also deleveraging. And, you know, when you put the sort of size of this family office market at about 6 trillion, that's going to feed through to the markets. They're a really important asset class. And what is striking is just how sort of pessimistic they are, particularly when you compare them maybe to the average investor.
So when you talk about alternatives, private equity, private debt, that has been sort of a stalwart in terms of performance.
Listen, this is James chapter 5 and verse 1. Go to now, ye rich men, weep and howl, for your misery shall come upon you. Your riches are corrupted, and your garments are moth-eaten. Your gold and your silver is cankered, and the rust of them shall be a witness against you. And ye shall eat your flesh as it were fire. Ye have heaped treasures together for the last days. Man, look, man, we are definitely in the last days, man. They trying to heap this cash, right? Stockpiling cash in fears of a recession. Okay? Says, let's read that again. Says, your gold and silver is cankered, and the rust of them shall be a witness against you, and shall eat your flesh as it were fire. Ye have heaped treasure together for the last days. Behold, the hire of the laborers who have reaped down your fields, which of you have kept back by fraud, right? So we read in Wisdom of Solomon, man, it says the man is standing great boldness who they made no account of our labors, right? It says, which is of you kept back by fraud, crieth, and the cries of them which have reaped are entered into the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth, right? Ye have lived in pleasure on the earth and been wanton. Ye have nourished your hearts as in the day of slaughter, right?
For these family offices and others, how bullish, bearish are they on this sector going forward?
So that is the one space that, you know, they do love alternatives. I think when you include real estate, about 30 we want in more to private equity, but the problem is you know, they only want to do that in the top tier of funds. So you know, most of them are sort of struggling to do that. And
the Federal Reserve.
So this video right here, man, if you don't know about the repo market, man, you need to go check it out. So the repo market is where companies can borrow money from each other and usually pay it back the next day or the night of. Check this out.
Did another repo operation again on Friday. That was 4 times that they dumped money, billions of dollars, into the inner lending market. So if you missed it from the last video, what this means is the banks at the end of the night sometimes find themselves short on cash, and they go to this little inner lending market where they can lend, where they can borrow money from other banks who have an excess of money on hand, and then they return it the next night or a couple days later. It's a very short-term loan. It's just for a bank that needs some quick cash. Another bank's got a lot more cash. They kind of do this little deal, and then that's it. Well, they've found themselves dry without any money in this lending market, and banks that were in need of money were like, oh my gosh, where's the money? There's no money.
Call lawyer, how about Shem Shy? Call lawyer, how about Shem Shy? Call lawyer, how about Shem Shy?
The only money that's available has an extremely high interest rate. So the Fed stepped in and they dumped a bunch of money into this lending market. It was unprecedented for them to do it once. Then they did it again. And then they did it again. And that was the last video I did. But guess what? They did it again. They did it 4 times last week. But it gets better. They then quietly announced on Friday, after they lowered the interest rate, they quietly announced that they will be dumping $75 billion every single weekday until October 10th into the little inner lending market. Yeah. So it wasn't just once, it wasn't just twice, it wasn't just 4 times. No, they're going to do it for the next 2 weeks straight.
Wow.
So the big question many of us have is, where's the money, guys? The banks are saying that they're loaded. The banks say that they've got lots and lots of money, that they're more profitable than they've ever been, even though the rest of America is still suffering and trying to recover from the recession. But the banks aren't, except the banks somehow find themselves short on cash. So there's...
Hey, man. This is Zephaniah chapter 1 and verse 10. And it shall come to pass in that day, saith the Most High, that there shall be a noise, there shall be the noise of a cry from the fish gate. Now you go into the actual word, the fish gate, it was where all the trade and the stock was done, like your stock market and your banks, right? And a howling from the second, and a great crashing from the hills, right? That crash of the stock market is coming, man, right? Just like we had in 2008 when the banks went under, man. It's going to happen again, and this time it's going to be worse, okay? It says, Howl, ye inhabitants of Maktash, for all the merchant people are cut down. All they that bear silver are cut off, right?
So short on cash that the Fed now has to dump this money into this inner lending market for the next 2 weeks. Another frustrating thing about this, now I've been doing a lot of research on the whole entire system, and I am at this point, I was largely suspicious back in probably April or May. I started to, I do a lot of research for my shows and whatnot, and I started to get this inkling suspicion that the banks, like, look, we can say a lot of things are the root of the problem. We could say it's money in politics. We could say that it's the military-industrial complex. We could say that it's, there's a variety of the corrupt politicians, whatever it is, career politicians or electoral, whatever you want to blame it on. A lot of people want to blame the discrepancies with wealth and kind of the shit that hits the fan all the time. They want to blame it on all these variety of things. I think it's banking. I really think the root of all evil comes down to the banking system and the way the banking...
Hey, man, it's the international bankers, man, that's going to cause this third war. They're going to try and implement this chip, man. They're going to try and kick off Jacob's trouble, man. This is all the decree of Yahweh Basham Rashai, man, on the left-hand side, man. And it's coming to prove Israel and to get rid of 2/3 and bring judgment to Esau Edom, man. And it's a beautiful work that Yahweh Bashar Shai is doing right now, man. The master chess player, right? This is the book of Obadiah, one chapter, verse 6. How are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up? All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him. Right? There's no understanding in Esau Edom. The banks can't get it right. Where's the money? Shall not in that day, saith the Most High, even destroy the wise men out of Edom and understanding out of the mount of Esau? This is Yahweh Bashar Shai doing a marvelous work in this world right now.
System is set up, or maybe it's banking in general. I haven't quite wrapped myself fully around that, but I've been researching a lot on it. I'm closer to putting all the pieces together as to why, and the bigger question, what would fix it? When I do figure that out, because it's so much information, I'm realizing that it's going to have to be a series of videos that I put out. I know in other times when I've researched, done in-depth research on certain topics, I could do maybe a half-hour video on it and at least paint the picture, but with this...
All right. That's going to be it, man. Lord willing, it's been edifying. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakar Kadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, and much respect to the brothers laboring in this truth worldwide to wake up the elect of the children of Israel. Till the next time I say, Shalom.